In June of 2022, Jurassic World Dominion was released to theaters, and the highly anticipated sequel was met with the worst critical reception of any Jurassic Park film to date, including the one that most people go to when they say the series has declined, Jurassic Park 3. Now, I've been making videos for a few years now, guys, and back in 2017, I actually did a video explaining how the production on JP3 was a pretty big nightmare, and documented what really happened behind the scenes to give us the movie we ultimately got. And today, I want to do the same for this one, because Dominion was not only a film that a lot of people didn't like, but we actually know a lot about what happened that led up to its release. And believe me, it is one of the craziest behind the scenes stories to go down, not only in any Jurassic movie, but probably any movie at all. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now look, when it comes to Jurassic World Dominion, we really have to take a look at the movie that came directly before it first. When Fallen Kingdom came out, a lot of people didn't like it. This movie was hated by many fans of Jurassic World and people who like Jurassic Park in general, with a few people actually sticking up for it. I was actually one of those people back then who really liked the darker tone of the film in comparison to the first Jurassic World, and I still think that the directing in that movie is way better than any of the other Jurassic World movies, but that film is also where a lot of silly ideas started to get implemented into the franchise that were a little wacky, unbelievable, and kind of campy. And while I started to have a change in how I viewed the film over the next couple of years, going, maybe this isn't as great as I thought it was. I was really fanboying over it in 2018. Well, after Dominion came out, that third film in the trilogy bothered me so much that I haven't actually seen any of the Jurassic World films since 2022. And I really think Fallen Kingdom is the catalyst for where some of those crazy things started, because Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver did not actually have an outline for it that Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly rewrote. This was a fresh script they made, and on the next movie, Connolly was out and Emily Carmichael would come in. So this is a pretty much Colin-focused script with nobody else really having any input besides Carmichael. Still, the reception to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom led to a much tamer sequel. In fact, Fallen Kingdom's darkness is all but gone in Jurassic World Dominion, and in its place is a much more friendly and less violent film. So why did they ditch what some people actually did like in Fallen Kingdom and double down on more of the silly stuff? Well, enter Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, which came out in September of 2020 and went on to have a popular 3 seasons. This show was actually a massive hit on Netflix and helped propel Jenna Ortega's career. While it was obviously a kid's show and not supposed to be as dark as the movies, when it started out, it actually was surprisingly better than a lot of people expected, before kinda trailing off and getting ridiculous. And when it started out, though, it was so good, in fact, that it looks like the producers kind of looked at its reception and went, hey, maybe the movies should be like that. So by the time Jurassic World Dominion entered production, Colin Trevorrow had already told everyone it was the film he always wanted to make, and how excited he was to finally show people this movie that he kept referring to as Jurassic Park 6. The promise was that Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm would have massive roles in the film, and Biosyn was coming back with a bad guy from the Michael Crichton novels, Lewis Dodson. There was a lot, and I do mean a lot, of rumors of Isla Sorna coming back, and the film was even having people speculate on Crichton's DX disease, which was something that would ultimately kill off all the dinosaurs on the island, but then had the threat of jumping over to humans. This was a very exciting time to be a Jurassic Park fan. Even if you hated Fallen Kingdom, Colin had already made a comeback with a short film in 2019 called Battle at Big Rock that at the time was very well received. So a lot of people were under the impression this movie is going to be the film Jurassic Park fans have been waiting to see for literally ever. And then something big changed. Early 2020, production shut down on Dominion. COVID-19 reared its ugly head, and everything on the film would have to be stopped. Now, during this period of time, very little was actually filmed for the movie, but the script would soon undergo a lot of changes. I made a video last year breaking down how this happened as far as the writing goes, which you can check out if you want, but to sum it all up, there were a lot of writers on this movie, and we know of at least around 7. And sometimes the cast even made up some stuff on the spot in order to better serve the film. They hired a ton of people to help overhaul Dominion, because at some point in time, they figured out, hey, this one needs a lot of work. They even brought back David Koepp, who wrote Jurassic Park and the Lost World. They brought him back on board to try and kick the tires of the movie, as Colin Trevorrow put it a couple of years ago. I personally think this is what led to Koepp being brought back to work on Jurassic World Rebirth, which is trying to go in a very different direction because of this movie, but that's besides the point. Now, as far as Dominion goes, there was actually a lot of other additions made by the cast that had to do with costume design and even basic character stuff that sounds kind of different from what they initially planned. And the film was being made while Camp Cretaceous kept making episodes and getting a lot of solid praise. All that talk of DX and dinosaurs in the mainland or even Isla Sorna seems to have been abandoned, if it was ever even a part of the movie. And whatever script changes happened seem to have been geared more towards making the movie kid-friendly and audience enjoyable in comparison to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, while also doing a very big, oh hey look, it's the original trio back and they are very cool and they are very hip and it's like Marvel. And if you think that's an over-exaggeration, they literally said this was supposed to be the Avengers Endgame of Jurassic Park movies in the press. This was also being made after Colin left Star Wars Episode 9, which the rough draft of which is very good, by the way. He would have probably made a great final episode for that trilogy, which I also really don't like, unfortunately. Anyways, Jurassic World Dominion was also the first film to open its production back up during the middle of the pandemic. Every other Hollywood movie didn't do that right away, and what ended up happening wasn't too good. A lot of work went into the special effects team building a new Dilophosaurus animatronic. This was the first time the dinosaur was going to return since the original Jurassic Park, and it was given a lot of attention and care, but sadly, somehow it broke during production. Maybe due to everything being rushed, I honestly don't know, but apparently this thing was able to move and walk fluidly in a super convincing way, but because things went so bad, they had to swap it out with some stationary props that look noticeably less real than the one from the first Jurassic Park movie. In fact, they actually look super stiff and kind of like Halloween prop-like in comparison.
What's your story?
Editing was taking place on Dominion while it was still being made, and they actually cut the entire beginning of the film out in order to put it in front of a Fast and Furious movie to help build the hype for Dominion. This introduction was actually crucial to understanding some of the stuff that was going on in the film, which was still very silly, but at least it gave some context and payoff to not only what people expected after Fallen Kingdom, but also what was going on with some of the dinosaurs. It helps set up a rivalry between the Giganotosaurus and the T-Rex. It gives us a beautiful scene of the animals living normally in the world, and even has a big Tyrannosaur attack on a drive-in theater. All of this was shown in front of Fast and Furious 9 and not in the movie itself. Dominion would actually get completed a full year before it's released. It got pushed back, and it was given a special screening to a select few individuals who worked on it back in 2021 before coming out in June of the following year. Now, what they basically did over the course of the next year, at least what they told us they did, was just perfect some of the visual effects. They trimmed a lot of the movie down for theaters and tried to release an extended cut that included most of that footage on Blu-ray. But what came out to the public in 2022 was a jumbled up version of the film they say they shot. And even then, something is really weird because Sam Neill stated in an interview that they shot a 6-hour movie. Now, I personally don't think he really meant that the movie was ever supposed to be a full 6 hours, but I am reminded of the 4-hour cuts of The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith when I hear things like this, and it wouldn't shock me if a lot of material is still left on the cutting room floor, which probably just includes different takes and improvs from the actors, but still there are a lot of changes being made here. By the way, I would love to talk about the 4-hour cut of The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith on Dragon Curve. If you look up some stuff, Star Wars is actually super crucial to people becoming like deeper Christians. That may sound crazy and off the wall, but I'm very interested in that. Meanwhile,
So be it, Jedi.
some people heard about the troubled production of Jurassic World Dominion and how the cast and crew were all living together in a hotel, which led to the production of an entirely different movie. The Bubble wound up being a 2022 comedy directed by Judd Apatow that basically makes a lot of jokes about Jurassic World Dominion and how it was being made. The film's production was so wild that an entirely different movie got made about it, lampooning it. Like, let that sink in. Eventually, Jurassic World Dominion would come out, and a lot of people did not like it, myself included. My whole family looked at me at one point in the film because I got up to use the bathroom, and they were like, oh God, Klayton got up in the middle of a brand new Jurassic Park movie. What happened? Like, he would never do this. Look, guys, a lot of people didn't like it. It's hard to know for sure what the original script was really like, but the one they filmed, which had the input of like 7 different people that we know of at least, was a very different beast. Gone was the dark, ominous promise that we got at the end of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and in its place, a very strange action-adventure film that incorporated the original Jurassic Park actors, but didn't feel anything like a Jurassic Park movie. At one point, Colin Trevorrow said he really liked one of the Mission Impossible films that had Henry Cavill in it, and it looks like that kind of bled into this film, which is a little strange in my opinion. This movie was heavily criticized for not really flowing properly and basically feeling like it didn't do anything to really show dinosaurs attacking the mainland or even how they were affecting the ecosystems of the wider world after they left the island. And it came out during a time in which Camp Cretaceous was still very popular, and it made $1 billion at the box office despite being a lesser number than either of its predecessors. Fallen Kingdom and the first Jurassic World made a lot more money. Some people really do like this movie, but I think the consensus for most is that it just didn't hit the mark. In fact, Jeff Goldblum has recently come out in an interview and said that, quote, "It's really hard to make a good movie." He says that he had a lot of fun on it and it was great to spend time with Laura Dern and Sam Neill again, but everyone has an opinion on it and the film is kind of being treated as a bump in the road that they want to distance themselves from with the next installment if you look at Jurassic World Rebirth. Colin Trevorrow has stated that he was very grateful that the studio allowed them to release the extended cut on Blu-ray, and when asked about the giant locust subplot, he admitted that he took a swing that didn't land with everyone, and that's just kind of how it is. All in all, I really think that in the future, when we talk about Jurassic World Dominion, we need to remember how crazy this whole project's production really was. It was shut down during the pandemic, heavily revised in writing, chopped up in editing, and even had the studio putting its intro in front of a whole different movie. All of this happened while the buzz and hype around it was still super high, and Camp Cretaceous was being praised very heavily. They wanted to move away from Fallen Kingdom and make a movie they thought would make more people happy. And then they restarted production super early. They had some things fail during the restart. Things got so crazy a whole movie was made to parody the production, and then they waited a full year after showing the film to a select group of people before releasing it to the public. This movie's production was very troubled, to say the least. And it's probably one of the most interesting movies released during the whole legacy sequel era to really talk about and analyze because of all of this. Just imagine what would have happened if Colin Trevorrow had kind of let David Koepp write the movie. Like, he still directed it, but just say, hey, look, you can do this, man. If we're gonna do all these revisions, David, you write the movie. Or maybe if the pandemic had never happened and they just used the original ideas they had, or if Camp Cretaceous was never a big hit, or even if the Dilophosaurus animatronic never broke. A lot of things changed on this movie that I think made it a weaker product. But even after getting pushed back a full year, it still came out, and this is the version we ultimately got. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video, and as always, take it easy.